Welcome, political science students. We are welcome to the third semester political science. As you know, this course for political science major students. This course is divided into 5 units or modules. Unit 2 is separation of powers. The instructor for this unit is Mr. G. Ramesh, Assistant Professor, Department of Political Science, St. Joseph's College for Women, Autonomous, Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh State, India. Learning outcomes. The second chapter of this unit is Montesquieu's Doctrine of Separation of Powers. By the end of this chapter, the learner should be able to understanding the need for power separation, knowledge of checks and balances, appreciation of constitutional design, recognition of judicial independence, and application in modern governance. Content. This unit, that is separation of powers, and the second chapter is Montesquieu's Doctrine of Separation of Powers. The content of the chapter are the 3 branches of government, checks and balances, rationale for separation, potential drawbacks, implementation across systems, ongoing relevance, and finally conclusion. Now let's go into the lesson and look at the Montesquieu's Doctrine of Separation of Powers. Montesquieu Doctrine of Separation of Powers. Montesquieu Doctrine of Separation of Powers outlined the spirit of laws. Montesquieu Doctrine of Separation of Powers was a fundamental idea in political theory, proposing that government authority should be divided into 3 branches: executive, legislative, and judiciary, to prevent any one branch from becoming too powerful. Divide power among legislative, executive, and judicial branches. Each branch has some control over the other branches, and each branch operates independently. So, this type of structure prevents concentration of power and tyranny and protects individual liberties, promotes balance and stability in government. So, Montesquieu doctrine has significantly influenced in modern constitutional governments. The 3 branches of government: executive, legislative, judicial. The executive branch, headed by the president or prime minister, it is responsible for enforcing laws, the administers government programs and policies, and legislative branch responsible for creating and passing new laws such as parliament or Congress in America. It comprises Congress or Parliament responsible for making laws, so represents the people and their interests. And judiciary branch comprise the Supreme Court and the other courts responsible for interpreting laws, ensures justice and resolves disputes. The separation of powers among these branches promote balance, accountability and effective governance. Checks and balances. Checks and balances are mechanisms that limit the power, accountability, faster cooperation. So each branch has the ability to limit the power of the other branches, preventing any one from becoming too dominant. So prevent any one branch from abusing power, encourage accountability among branches, and they encourage cooperation and negotiation. So it promotes balance and stability. The branches must work together to effectively govern, creating a system of shared power. Rationale for separation. The separation of powers serves several purposes: preventing tyranny, balancing interests, promoting efficiency, ensuring accountability. Dividing powers prevents any one group from gaining absolute control and abusing it. So it prevents any one branch from abusing power and safeguards individual rights and freedoms. And it allows the different branches can represent and protect the interest of various groups in society. So it allows for diverse perspectives and interests, and it encourages competition and balance among the branches. And promoting efficiency, specialized branches can focus on their core functions and operate more effectively. So each branch specializes in specific functions: lawmaking, execution, interpretation. So enhances accountability and effectiveness and ensuring accountability. So it ensures accountability through checks and balances. It promotes transparency and good governance, these three organs. While the separation of powers has several benefits, it also has potential drawbacks. Gridlock, inefficiency, conflict, uneven balance. The system of checks and balances can lead to deadlock and inability to make decisions. It is difficulty passing laws to the legislative deadlocks due to disagreements, and inability to implement the policies to the legislative branches and other branches. And inefficiency, the separation of powers can create redundancies and slow down government processes. So overlapping responsibilities, excessive complexity, and the competing interest of the branches can result in ongoing power struggles and conflicts. So the conflict between the legislative, executive, and judiciary, and competition for authority also, and uneven balance. So each branch encouraging cooperation among branches, and one branch dominating others sometimes, and unequal distribution of powers also undermining the intended balance. Implementation across systems. The separation of powers is implemented differently across various systems. In United States of America, the US Constitution establishes a presidential system with a clear separation of powers. So a clear division of powers among branches in USA and robust system of checks and balances in the US Constitution. And the United Kingdom parliamentary system has a less strict separation with more overlap between branches. So the fusion of executive and legislative powers are there in UK. So informal checks and balances are followed in United Kingdom. And France semi-presidential system has a hybrid approach with both presidential and parliamentary elements. So mix of presidential and parliamentary systems, strong presidency with checks. Ongoing relevance. The separation of powers remains highly relevant. Funding ideals, evolving contexts, continued debate. So Montesquieu ideas were fundamental to the design of many modern governments. This theory safeguarding individual rights and freedoms and preventing abuse of power. And the separation of power has adapted to changing political, social and technological conditions. So it is impact of globalization on governance, the role of technology in shaping power dynamics also. And continued debate, scholars and policy makers continue to discuss the merits and challenges of the doctrine. Ongoing discussions about the ideal balance calls for reform to improve effectiveness. So the separation of powers adapt to changing circumstances, continues to protect individual rights and freedom. Conclusion for this chapter. Montesquieu doctrine of separation of powers remains a cornerstone of modern governance. Montesquieu's separation of powers remains a fundamental principle of good governance even as it evolves to meet modern challenges, prevent concentration of power, safeguards individual rights, encourages balance and accountability. So Montesquieu's ideas continue to shape constitutional governments and protect individual freedoms. Land. Understanding the need for power separation, knowledge of checks and balances, appreciation of constitutional design, recognition of judicial independence, and application in modern governance. Thank you for your attention.